I showed the time to be 6 o'clock standard daylight savings time. This is regular city council meeting for Monday, June the 11th, 2012 at Jasper City Hall, 465 South Main Street. First of all, I'd like to welcome everyone to the People's House. We're glad that you're here. We appreciate you being here and showing concern about what's going on in your community and wanting to be informed. We ask you, though, however, please turn your cell phones off or put them on silent at this time because we don't want to interrupt tonight's meeting. And one night I made this announcement and then mine was the first to go off. So I made sure mine was off before I told y'all. We officially call to order. Let the record reflect that all members of the City Council are present tonight. First of all, we'd like to call on Brother Rhodes to lead us in a word of prayer.
Lord, in the name of Jesus, Lord, we come praise you, we come back and back to you, praise and give you glory. Lord, you in the name of take control of this meeting, Lord. Let it be what you have to do. Yeah. We thank you again for the government of your people. Take control in your son Jesus' name we pray. Everyone said, amen. Amen.
Yeah. Okay, our first item on the agenda tonight is the presentation of a plaque to it's a service award presented to Tommy Adams for his recognition of 6 years of dedicated service to this community. Tommy, if you come forth, I'll present you with it. Tommy, we thank you for your years of service to this council and the people of Jasper and the people of your district. Take this. I don't know what you do with it. Hang it on the wall. It probably won't buy you anything, but hang on the wall. Look at it. We appreciate your years of service, sir. Okay, with that, we move next to the departmental reports that have been provided to the members of the City Council. If you have a question concerning one of those reports, or you'd like to ask a question, now's the time to do so. Okay, we also have in that information for council members. And if you'll go right to that, basically that is something that if you haven't had a time to study it, you'll want to, and you'll want to take it home and look at it. That is the revenues with the comparison to budget for 8 months ending May 31st, 2012. That tells you exactly where the city is standing as far as money goes. Anybody have a question they'd like to ask Denise Kelly? If you don't want to do now, you can certainly do so later. Okay, we have 2 public comments. The first one to sign up is Reverend John Harden. Harden, come forward, please. You have 3 minutes, sir.
3 minutes. Thank you, Mayor. To the mayor and to the council and all of us here. I worked in Marlin for 13 years. And when it came time to get to principalship, Mr. Enos Lumpkin and Mr. Sam Gray thought otherwise. And they got together. And Mr. Carol Mount, the banker and president of Bush State Bank in Marlin, Texas, called me to his office, and I went up to his office, and he told me, he said, "Coach," and I was a coach then, "I want you to know that you should get the job for principal of the Marlin Junior High School." I was wanted. As far as the teachers, they wanted me. As far as the community, they wanted me. He said, "But everything seemed to be all right." He said, "Do you want the job?" I just said I sure do. I said, "I think I deserve it." Mr. Mount said, "That's all right." He said, "But Mr. Enos Lumpkin, he's going to heaven now." And I worked right faithfully with him. I never left him in the black community where it was on Commerce Street. And it was a school that became the junior high school. Since that time, they built different. He said, "But Enos don't want you. And Sam don't want you." He was the superintendent. And if they don't want you, I doubt if you'll ever do any good. Now, if the boss don't want you, I doubt if you'll ever do any good. But to the mayor and to all of us that are here, I'm here to congratulate. I want to thank our police force. Even though we've had controversy, we had little stops. We look at us now. We're done separated. But none of us can say that our police force has not been taking care of us. They have, and I want to compliment them for that. Now, y'all be sure to say he complimented the police force when you go out and you say it. I hope and pray that the decision that you make will be for the improvement of our citizens, our community. We have a great city manager, a good police chief, and just hope that you understand that action may cause very serious consequences for our city. Now, I ain't no Facebook, and I don't know what that other text message and all, I don't know how to do it. But when New York start talking about Jasper, y'all ought to think, I ought to think, we don't need all of that kind of advertisement. We just don't need it. Think about it yourself. Please pray for God's direction, because we need a city where we can come together and work together in love of each other. The lyrics of the song says, somebody gonna get hurt before we see. Y'all don't say amen, you know I'm right. He said no hollering out. He didn't say you never say amen. Somebody's gonna get hurt with what we are doing before we do. And the song says somebody's gonna get hurt before we do. Somebody's gonna pray for the things that you do. How many will it take? How many hearts are you going to break? Just to satisfy you. Somebody's going to get hurt before we're through, and don't be surprised if that somebody is you. How many will take? How many hearts are you going to break?
3 minutes is expired.
Get hurt before we're through. I say again, watch yourself. Try to work together. Anybody can tear the nest, but it takes a good bird to put it together. I got 2 more minutes if you give it to me, and I can have the house in order.
We have up next Tanika Brooks.
Come on, and here comes the good bird.
You also have 3 minutes. David.
I'd like to say good evening to everyone. I'm speaking on behalf of myself and anybody that would agree, and of course to those that will disagree will. Stuff not to do to control that. My heart is sad. No, saddened is the word. My heart is drugged. I know that people are sick of hearing about James Byrd Jr. But we got drugged into it. We didn't ask for it. We got drugged into it. Just like we got drugged into this. When this happened at the city, we had nothing to do with it. But it was mentioned. We got drugged into it. But we say no to drugs. I say no to being drugged. I never thought I would live to tell stories that my ancestors tell. I sit down with my children and have stories of, and I'm kind of afraid to kind of let go of them a little bit. Because it's scary. But if you haven't been there, then you can't relate. And I can't make you relate. But I do want to say, we talked about the fence last time. The fence, if everybody turn around and look down the middle,
yeah.
I think they put it up in here. Yeah. But they said it was removed. Let's think about it. I'm sick. No, sick again. That's not the word. Tired of being drugged. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? The council room is divided. The door that's now open for executive session was closed a few months ago. Struck off the agenda. No, not struck off. It drug off the agenda a few months ago. Anything we wanted to talk about was drug off the agenda. Why? But this is not a race issue. If I'm lying, say I'm lying. The door was closed. We couldn't get in the door. Could not get in the door. Couldn't write on a piece of paper getting told struck like that.
That's right.
Drug.
That's true.
But Galatians 6 and 7 says,
Be not. Come on.
be not deceived.
Come on here.
I don't know about your God, but my God is not mocked. Whatsoever you sow, You gonna reap it. You may not reap it, but you got children. You got grandchildren. You have ancestors. And I've been blocked from a lot of people. I've been friends with everybody. Don't know what I done wrong. And if I did something wrong to you, I apologize. But now everybody quiet. Quiet. Hadn't said anything out of the way. Talked to everybody. But everything's changed. But Tanika's still the same. And I want you to know that from my heart. Because when I need help, I want somebody to help me. And when you need help, if you have to sit in front of me, I'm going to help you.
That's right.
Because if my children need help, or if my great-grandchildren need help, I won't want what I do to fall bad on my family, my seed. You have to think about what you do. No, I'm not perfect. I've done, everybody in here does stuff.
That's right.
You're right. If you say you have, you're lying. Nobody's perfect. But I got a Savior who said, it's painful. It's painful. Whatever I can do to help
3 minutes has
fix
expired.
it, let me know. Thank you.
Okay, we'll go up next to the item number 1 on the agenda, and that is consider approval for a second set of minutes. That's 2 sets of minutes. That is the regular city council meeting for May the 15th, 2012, and the special call city council meeting for May the 31st, 2012.
Make the motion, pass.
Have a motion by Mr. Sayers. Second by Mr. McMillan, I believe. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Let the record show it passed unanimously. Okay, we have up next an item that has been back on the agenda, and that is to consider a table item, the creation of ordinance against sagging or below the waist pads.
I make a motion we table this item again if we can in order to get just a little more information on it.
Okay, I'm going to just say one time real good here and nice, please. There's people that are trying to hear, and it's hard to hear, especially back there in that back room. And we put something over the air conditioner. Is it in place tonight? Okay, it has helped, but you still can't hear back there. But we've done everything that we can, including working on the sound where everybody can hear in this room. But we're going to ask everyone, please, to be quiet during tonight's meeting. There will not be any permitting of any comments or any yelling or any moaning or hollering or any comments. This council is here to discuss these items, and they deserve the respect to be able to discuss them. Go ahead, Mr. Hopkins.
Okay. Let me just read this. It shall be unlawful for any person in any public place or in the public view to be found in a state of nudity or partial nudity or in dress not becoming his or her sex or any indecent exposure of his or her person or undergarments or be guilty of any incident or lewd behavior. And I've got a few deals from the news, printouts, first one thing and another. What got my attention was the phrase the undergarment. And I'd ask what would keep from putting on some running shorts with your underwear under the running shorts and then pulling your pants all the way down. You don't have an undergarment showing. You know, that got me a little confused, and I know what the intent is, and I'm all for the intent. That's all I have.
Do we have a second on his motion to table? Okay, no second on the motion to table. Do we have a motion, period?
I make a motion to pass.
Okay, a motion to pass this ordinance has been made by Alton Scott. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second has been made by Randy Sayers. Okay, discussion.
This Saturday, this is a promise that I made to when I first ran for city council the first time. I told everybody, I said, if somebody called in about the sagging pants, and I told them at that time, I said, if anyone put on the agenda an ordinance against it, I would be for it. All right, I didn't make it that time, so I came back and I ran again. And I waited, and nobody put it on the agenda, so I put it on the agenda. Because I'm tired of My wife has been looking at grown men's dirty underwear. And every woman in the building ought to be tired of looking at men's dirty underwear. She said, not that. Every man in Jasper ought to be tired of his wife looking at other men's dirty underwear. Don't care whether it's red, yellow, black, white, or brown. Race has nothing to do with it. It's about decency.
Yeah.
If you can't step out in the public and be decent, then you need to stay inside, regardless of who you are.
Elton, one of the concerns that I have, we've had, is this is something which has been kind of a lightning rod in other communities. I got on Google and looked up some stuff, as I'm prone to do. Communities take a lot of criticism from passing legislation like this because it can be construed as a racial profile. I don't want to do
Could
something.
you pull that up just a little bit? I think you're having trouble hearing you.
Are you familiar with Benjamin Chavez? Okay, he's the president of the NAACP. And this is something that these sagging pants laws are really, I mean, they're just not the laws, but the activity itself is very distasteful. Nobody likes to see somebody else's rear end, you know, and what you're weighing against there is the right of someone to express themselves, to dress the way they want to, but at some point that right crosses over somebody else's right not to have to look at somebody else's rear end. And it is, I think, it's born out of a rebellious attitude. I don't know, but what maybe some of the churches ought to be more involved in the training of young people, you know, to have more respect for other people. Because that is what that's born out of. It's complete and utter lack of respect for other people. It is the visual equivalent of kiss my rear end, the way I see it. I think that I thought we had an ordinance already on the books, and initially I was against having this because I thought it was a duplication of something we already had, a lewd and lascivious behavior, which I did find eventually in the Parks and Recreation ordinances about that type of activity in our public, our city parks. But there's nothing in the books about that type of behavior. I do not want to brand the city or give opportunity for eager media to take this and twist it into something that it may not be, and it's not intended to do. So I guess you would defend us against that if that would be the case, huh?
As far as racial profiling, it's not racial profiling. If you know anything about sagging, and if you study, you'll find out that it derives from the prison.
Yeah, that's right.
And when you're wearing your pants down like that, you're making a statement. In that state, you're saying, I'm available. That's what a man is saying when he's in jail. He's walking around with his pants down on his butt. He's saying, I'm available. That's all it's simply saying. And I don't think these kids need to be walking around and saying, I'm available. Because they don't know where it comes from. They think it's cool. Black and white, they think it's cool. They don't know where it comes from.
Yeah, and after the prison one, isn't that a part of the hip hop culture?
Yeah.
No.
Let me say this. As far as catching slack, anytime you do what's right, you're going to catch slack. Anytime you stand up for righteousness, you're going to catch slack. And if you don't stand up for what's right, you'll fall for anything.
Let me ask a question of all of you. I'm a little bit concerned whenever somebody says that it shall be against the law for a person to, I mean, we've already got laws that cover somebody walking down the street with their pants down and showing themselves, like state of nudity or partial nudity. But when it says in here, dress not becoming his or her sex, where do we stop and where do we start on that? I mean, if somebody's walking down the street and let's say they got a completely good set of pants on, but their pants are hanging down just a little bit and they got a half inch of underwear showing, the way I'm reading this here, a policeman can ride on a ticket. Now, I mean, I don't want that to happen.
Well, maybe it needs to be amended to say 2 inches below the waist. Or an inch, 1 inch below the waist.
And the other thing that I have is that let's say that I have a pair of pants on, but let's say I have a pair of gym shorts under them or something other else. if that's the way I want to dress and it ain't bothering nobody, I mean, then somebody stop me and arrest me for it, you know? That's just questions I've got.
I would like to see us pick this and give us a little bit more time to look and study on this. See if we don't already have something in our city ordinance that might address this. Tommy, you were shaking your head a lot. Do you know for a fact whether or not we have anything in our municipal code that covers this?
Nothing local. There's state laws governing the same thing. This is a ordinance, and I wanted our city attorney to look over it, but this is one from another city, and we just changed to make it fit the city of Jasper.
The fines to me looked a little bit low. I mean, I'm not familiar with how fines are set or, you know, generally how they run. It doesn't look to me like it's got much teeth in it. You know?
The ordinance here says that the person would be charged $50 the first time, $100 the second time, and $150 the third time, and that they'd be ordered to do 16 hours of community service also for the third time. So that's what we're talking here, council, all of you looking at, as it's been drafted here, we charge some young person $50 the first time, $100 the second time, and $150 the third time, plus order them to do on that third time 16 hours of community service time.
Is that about in line with other fines that we have, for, like traffic violations or whatever?
I can't really speak to that. I believe it. I agree with you. I think it's a little low for the offense and everything.
The maximum fine for Class C misdemeanors.
Can we collect other ordinances from other cities, just in the environment? Sure.
You want to table? You've got a motion and a
We've got a
second.
motion.
We've got a motion and a second, which means we have to vote on it. However, I guess we could have a motion to table
I'll make that motion.
at this point.
I would second.
Is that okay, Mr. Attorney? Do we have to vote on it, or can we have a motion?
You've already made your motion and a second to
So now we have to vote on it, don't we?
either vote or you can withdraw that motion.
Okay, Mr. Scott, you have a motion. Mr. Sayers, I thought that was right, but I wasn't sure. Mr. Scott, you have a motion. Mr. Sayers, you have a second. Mr. Scott, would you be willing to withdraw that motion and allow and pass a motion to table? What's that?
No.
No, okay. But we have a motion, we have a second. So now we're required to discuss it and have a vote.
I have no further discussion.
Okay, any further discussion? Then we call for a vote. All those in favor of an ordinance fining people for having sagging pants, say aye. Aye. That was you, Alvin? Okay. All those opposed? No.
Nay.
Okay. So it's Mr. Scott votes for, and we have all the other council members voting against. 1 for and 4 against. Okay, that puts that to rest. Okay, up next we have number 3, and that is an ordinance that I asked that this be put on the agenda. And what this does, this is ordinance number 06-12-01, providing for the imposition of a lien on the owner's property other than homestead or rental property for delinquent bills for city utility services. And do you want to explain this, Tom, or do you want me? Bottom line is that we had a business here in Jasper, a hospital some time ago, that ended up running up a sizable electric bill within the city of Jasper. And the city tried various ways to collect this money, and the city filed liens against the property. And I was recently, after a lot of going from here to there on that as the mayor and trying to see that the people's money, and that this didn't happen again, I did some research on it and found that it was advised by legal counsel that the city can file all the liens that they want against a piece of property for the electric bill, but we cannot collect it or actually have a lien against that property unless we have an ordinance on file that allows us to do that, and we don't have that at this point. Now, before anyone gets, I want to point out something, the very first fourth of this does not apply to, let's see, how does it say here? It does not apply to homesteads or rental property. So if you have someone living in your rent property and they run up a bill, I already had some people that have real estate in the city call me and ask me, so if you have someone that's renting from you and they run up electric bill, the city cannot put a lien against your property because of their bill. This would only be in the situation of like commercial institutions and things like that. Well, other than homestead or rental property. And the ordinance is here, and if you had time to look over it, do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion made by Mr. Sayers. Is there a second? Second by Hazel Johnson. Okay, so we have time now for discussion.
Okay, on a homestead, if your home, if it say it is your home, but it's not listed as homestead, will that affect it also?
Mr. Orkin?
I would say yes, it is. You're only allowed one homestead exemption, so if you own two, then the one that's not homesteaded would be subject to a lien.
I'm saying like, someone may own some property, they may live in it, but they may not have a homestead exempt on the tax roll. Maybe paying taxes on it, or not have it exempt.
You don't have to put it on the tax roll.
As long as you live there.
So residential is exempt, is what you're saying.
Any more discussion? Okay, we have a motion second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Let the record show it passed unanimously. Okay, we go to consider request from management regarding the Sam Rayburn Municipal Power Agency's funding or refund to the city. Tommy, would you like to come forth and explain, please?
We have our annual refund on the from SRMPA that we received back at $757,655, and management is proposing to use $55,000 of that, $55,553, for a 3% raise for city employees. Their last raise being May of 2011, and then the remaining $701,000 would be used, as it has been in the past several years, as rate buy down on the city's electric rates. Last year it was like $14.30 on average bill. I haven't seen what it's going to be this year, but should be somewhere real close to that. Last year it was $727,000 refund.
Is that money we get every year?
We pay into a debt service, and we over collect because of the stipulation says you have to have 1.2% over or whatever. We pay into it, and then what's unused, they disperse back to the city. It's a refund, but it's a refund of monies that we pay too much. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Is that something the city counts on?
No. Last year we passed it on. What this is, for those that are new to the council and want to know about this, the Sam Rayburn Municipal Power Agency is comprised of the cities of Jasper, Livingston, and Liberty. And what we do is the whole job of the agency is to get power to the member cities at the cheapest price possible. which is a feat within itself. Tommy and I serve on that board. Each city has 2 representatives that run this board, that serve on the board and run the SRMPA. And the SRMPA is not in the business to make any money. The SRMPA, because of its indebtedness and its infrastructure, its bonds, it's required by the financial institutions and the bondholders to keep a certain amount of a reserve there in case of emergencies and everything. But bottom line, the Sam Rayburn Municipal Power Agency is owned by the member cities of Jasper, Livingston, and Liberty. And the agency is not in the business to make any money, but simply just to exist, to provide electricity at the possible lowest rate to the cities. And so what happens is every now and then you might say we cut the melon. When we end up with more money than is needed to operate and to maintain the debt service on the bonds, then we come up with extra money and we split it between the 3 various cities. Last year, the city basically can do anything they want to with this money. This is the council's discretion to do anything they want to with this money. But what we did last year and what we're proposing to do this year is give people a discount on to give them a little bit of credit off their electricity in the summer months. Last year, the average home in Jasper, I think we ended up, if you took it down to average, because it's by the kilowatt, the average home here in Jasper ended up getting about a $13 by the time it split up with 13. Was that right, Tommy? About $14?
$13.40, I think.
$13.40, is that what it was? But anyway, that was knocked off people's electric bill. I know that doesn't sound like much, but if it's a nickel, it's more, you know. I mean, every bit that we can reduce electric bill, that's what we're trying to do. And last year, that's what we did with money. And did we also give a 3% raise out of it last year?
Not last year, no.
No?
The year before that, it was 1.2 million, and we bought a sidearm garbage truck and a street sweeper.
That's right, that's right.
And then for the last about 10 years, the remainder of that 1.2 went to buy down of electric, and for about the last 10 years, it's been, each year, it's a large portion of it's been used to buy down the electric power rate.
So is this the NISCO fund?
No. This is it's just a refund from SRMPA. Like I say, we pay into the debt service, and we're required to pay more, like Mike said, to have the cash on hand for the debt, and then whatever is not used for the operation, then they refund back to us each year.
If y'all like to table this for a month, we have 3 new members. If y'all want to study this for a month, we can table this.
Well, we've already again had a motion and a second.
Okay.
Or you want to withdraw your motion? You made the motion.
It's a long one. I'll withdraw.
Okay. Mr. Sayers withdraws his motion, and there's been some discussion since there's new members on the council and they'd like to study this more. Is there a motion to table? Okay, Mr. Sayers has made the motion to table. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor of tabling? Any opposed? Okay. Okay, consider resolution number 2917, naming an authorized person as a signer for all contractual documents related to the corpus of trust estate of Jack McKenzie Charitable Trust. Tommy, while you're up there, would you like to explain this to us?
We received this documentation from, it was a charitable trust set up in 1965, and the trust came to its end 25 years after the gentleman's, the passing of his last surviving sibling, and the city of Jasper was the beneficiary, or whatever the terminology is, of the remains of the funds. And I gave you in your packet the total on the funds coming to the city, and then there's stipulations on it is $241,000. But we need the motion tonight, or the resolution tonight, for Mayor Lapp to sign all the contract and documents. And when we get it, there'll be some stipulations. I'll bring it back to you, but that's, in order to get it, we need this corporate resolution.
Okay, that motion has been made by City Council members Randy Sayers for the city to accept the money and it to be held in a fund, and has been seconded by Mitch McMillan. Any discussion? Okay, that's a good deal whenever you get a letter in the mail that says you got this money. But there is some stipulations, and if you will look, we provided them in that some information about this. But I think, Tommy, did you not tell me there's some more information coming on how this money has to be spent?
There was, the wheel was with it, and I didn't want to run all the copies, and I didn't think y'all needed
Well,
material.
bottom line, we need the city's attorney to look over that and to give us an advisement on how, because it's my understanding that the will has some stipulations that money can only be spent for certain things within the community, so we need to do that. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Let the record show that it passed unanimously. Okay, the city manager is still standing, and we have, of course, everyone knows that the city of Jasper is in a situation of pending litigation, and that has everybody concerned here at City Hall. We have up next item number 6, and that is consider a policy governing the use of city vehicles.
I put in your packet the sheet out of our personnel policy manual that everybody gets when they're hired with the city, and it so stipulates that on-call employees may take a company vehicle home but only utilize it for city use while on duty. Only city personnel may ride in a company vehicle not to be utilized for personal use. Violations of the provisions will result in disciplinary action being taken. And that's basically what the policy says in reference to city vehicles.
Now, department heads have to do it, correct?
Yes. Everybody that works for the city underneath me carried the department heads take the vehicle home. They're subject to call, and when we have a call, Greg can tell you, we were at the hospital and there was probably 5 of us standing out there that he was there, I was there, Monta, Bob Gary, different ones. They're subject to call 24/7 basically.
Just out of curiosity, how many vehicles does the city own?
Joe Weiner could speak to that better probably. I would say approximately 150. You have several in PD, and then we have the fleet.
We're a little off course here. Do we have a motion? Have a motion by Hazel Johnson. Do we have a second? Second by Raymond Hobson. Now let's have all discussion go on.
Isn't this already a policy?
It is, but I think we're being called upon to ratify that policy. I think the way it's explained to me is it's been policy all along, but then you just get more people taking their cars home, and more home, and then next thing you know, you got everybody taking their cars home. It's a lot of gas money. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Let the record show that it passed unanimously. Okay, we have also, due to financial concerns, we have a item on the agenda. This is to consider the policy governing the budget overages. And bottom line on this issue here is it basically is already stated in city law that the council adopts the budget, and then it's up to the city manager to see that that budget is carried out as the city council has adopted it. Likewise, over the years, we've got into a practice at the city that moving money from one fund to another. And bottom line, what this policy would be considered a policy that basically says that any money that's in the budget stays where it's at in the budget, and then any money It's moved, would have to be approved by the city council. How does the council feel about this?
I think we need to table this out, and I can get some literature on it.
Okay, we have a motion to table this item. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, there's a second. All those in favor of tabling, say aye. Okay. Any opposed? Everyone is in agreement on tabling. Okay, up next we have the policy operations at the Jasper Police Department. And this is the time that any council member has any questions or wanting anything to know about, they have the right to do so now.
This is another item that we have any literature on.
Well, it's your time to ask any questions you want to.
What are all the policies at this point?
Okay. What are the policies at this point?
Yeah.
Do we have the chief to come up?
Councilman, there are several policies. We have a meeting manual that's about this thick that has all the policies and procedures. And if I would have known that this was something that you needed, I would have brought it this evening. I can provide you with a copy of the meeting manual. Okay.
It's my concern that this policy book is adopted by or put together by the police department, and then it's approved by the city council. But it's come to my attention there's been numerous changes in that policy book, and that policy book has never came back to this council for approval.
Yes, sir, that the policy manual was adopted in 2002 by the city council, and it can be amended by the police chief.
Okay.
It says it in the manual.
But it also has to be brought back before the council. We're the governing body,
Yes, sir.
and we're the ones that can make the rules. And I'm just wondering why that hasn't happened.
City Council 15 minutes.
The last time that I talked to the council, it was the last council, it was this current council. So it may be something that we need to get together and bring to each one of you and let you look over it, and it may need to be readopted.
Was it 2002 the last time we adopted? I thought it was earlier.
I think that the manual was adopted here a few years ago, but I don't know.
The last time I found it in the minutes was 2002.
I think that you're right. That's a problem, but I don't. I think that's the date that's on it, the front of it. But when was it adopted? And the last few times, I don't know. But I remember it coming here, but I don't know if it's in the minutes. The last one's 2002, and that is some date in 2002 on the front of that manual. Okay, but the bottom line is that I don't see how that document or anything in it can be effective or be official unless it has been adopted by the governing body of this city, and that is the city council. Would you agree?
If you say so, sir.
Also, I have some other deals that I wanted to ask. Do we have a training officer a field training officer within the police department now?
I believe so.
What's his name?
Mike Poindexter is a field training officer.
Okay, is he the only one that we have?
I think Frank Irmus, if I'm not mistaken.
Mr. Irmus should be in now.
Oh, you're not?
Mayor, Councilman. To assist in this, I would tell you that I'm one. Cody Christopher's one. Josh Adnot's one. I think there's another one or two that I hadn't been looking at.
Mr. Hall, I believe you're one.
I believe you're all.
Okay. I'm also going to ask you something else tonight, and I've looked into one police report here that where a man was basically, it occurred on January the 12th, January the 16th this year, where an officer was involved in a situation on Edgewood Street, and the officers ended up turning a dog loose on the man, went in the house and tased him, and turned the dog loose on him and let the dog bite him. Did you know anything about that? Okay. Was that officer ever, did you ever come down to the policy of why that you're turning the dog on somebody over there? A man in his house? And I understand that the man had not committed any crime.
Well, the way that my understanding of it is it was a loud music call. When they showed up at the loud music call, the gentleman there at the house took off running, and they felt that he was running for some reason while the dog was turned loose. I don't know.
Okay, but he was tased and a dog was also put on.
Well, when he went in the house, he got underneath the covers and he wouldn't show the officers his hands, and they asked him several times to show his hands, and he refused.
Okay, and the accusation or what the man was accused of loud music?
Well, once he went in his house, they didn't. At first, yes, sir, but once he went in the house, they wasn't sure.
Okay. I also understand that in May of this year and I understand that it's happened several times, that there's been dog bites within the city, and that the dogs are not quarantined. The dogs are instead allowed to go wherever. And in case of one on this date, May the 14th, the dog went to Louisiana, and nobody ever checked to see if the dog had rabies or anything.
I'm not familiar with
Okay, now I'm going to ask one more time for not to be discussion out. And if we don't, if we can't have that, well, then we'll have to do what we got to do. Okay, up next, I'm also concerned that without this city council's approval, you changed one of the city policies, and it's basically it's a police policy, and it says the original policy said employees shall not publicly criticize or ridicule the police department. Its policies are employees by speech, writing, or other expression when such communication is defamatory, unlawful, or interferes with the maintenance of discipline. Revision shall in no way serve to limit or diminish any employee's constitutional First Amendment rights or other rights provided by federal, state, or local law. That was the way that it was originally written, but bottom line is that the police department, you or someone in the police department, come out and said employees shall not publicly criticize or ridicule the police department's policies or employees by speech, writing, or other expression when such communication is defamatory, unlawful, or interferes with the maintenance of discipline. And I'm just wondering, did anybody consult with the city's attorneys or anybody to see what kind of, I mean, we obviously can tell people what they can say, city employees what they can say when they're at work, but how can we tell city employees what they can say when they're not at work?
Well, that was meant at work.
Well, it doesn't say that. It says publicly. I'm just saying, how do we come up with these policies whenever this council knows nothing about them and they're already done?
When I wrote that, I referenced the city manual in there and gave a copy of it.
Right, I understand that, but what I'm saying, this council or no one ever authorized this change.
Okay, but that's what I'm saying. I didn't give the change. Whenever I said it in the meeting, I gave a copy of the policy manual. And that was
well, but in the city's original wording, Chief, it says the provision shall in no way serve to limit or diminish anyone's constitutional First Amendment rights or other rights provided by federal, state, or local law, and you struck that out.
No, sir, I did not.
Well, it's here. Let me ask you another question. You recently made many hirings and demotions, and you've done all kinds of things over there. Are any of these jobs, department, or they've been posted? Every one of these jobs that you've done since you've been there, have you posted them as required by 2.21 of the city's rules?
The jobs have been posted, yes, sir.
Where were they posted?
if I gave them to Joe Whitener. Now, the motions that you're talking about when I first hired on, those were not demotions, they were reassignments. And I talked to the,
I can't allow any laughing or anything out there. We can clear this room for that.
and I discussed it with the city attorney before I did, and Joe Whitener in Whitener's office.
Okay.
Excuse me, hang on.
Go ahead.
You discussed it with Joe Whitener.
And the city manager, I mean the city attorney prior to doing this. Prior to making the changes. I was in his office that day and talked to Whitener, and he called Mike Ratcliffe on the phone.
11:30 that morning.
Yes, sir.
But he had already been hired. Commotions had already taken place. Then you discussed it with the attorney? Okay.
And I'd also discussed it with the some folks on the council, Ms. Northbury, Mr. Land, Mr. Adams, he was still here at the time, and then Alton Scott came in.
And they agreed for you to go ahead and do this?
Yes, sir.
Okay, then they would have done that illegally because the council would have been conducting business outside of a session. This council cannot, I as mayor cannot give you permission to do anything.
I understand, sir.
And neither none of these councilmen can give you permission to do anything. We can only do this in a body sitting right here.
Okay.
So if those, you're saying on record here tonight that those councilmen talked with you and you all come to a consensus.
It was not all at one time, no, sir.
But it doesn't matter. There's what's called a walking consensus. Okay. I want to ask you another question. I want to ask these questions general to the police department. And I'm going to ask this, and I'm going to just say, I don't know what the department's policies are, but before my time at being at City Hall, I've been around, as you know, around law enforcement for a long time. And every time there was ever a major crime within this city, a robbery, a shooting, a major armed robbery, a crime of any type, anything like that, we always had a chief or a captain out on the scene. And since you've been chief, we hadn't had that.
Well, there's only been 2 times that they hadn't, and my people didn't notify me. So I can't come if they don't notify me.
Okay. So you're saying that people don't call and tell you?
Yes, sir. It happened night before last.
Would you say that's a breakdown of communications within your department?
Yes, sir.
Who's responsible for that?
The communications supervisor.
No, sir, I'd say you are. You're the chief. And I don't agree. There's been many times that you haven't shown up, and I don't know that the captain's ever been to anything after hours. Okay, if there's other questions that any council member has.
Yes, I'd like to have one. Got one question, Ronnie. So we talked a moment ago about the restructure, and it not being a demotion. Correct me if I'm wrong, but pretty much a demotion is an assignment from a position of greater responsibilities to one of the lesser responsibilities, usually requiring a decrease in salary. Is that what happened in the restructure process? And it's not,
I call it a restructure, you guys call it a demotion. Basically, that's the definition that you read off.
Chief, on the evening that I asked you this was in a city council meeting. This come up earlier. It was June 21st, 2011. And I asked you about what this was, and you said it was not demotions. You were very emphatic about that. And you said it was a restructuring of your department.
Yes, sir.
That's all that it was about.
Yes, sir.
And then you walked right out the door here and talked to Channel 4, KBTV, or no, KBMT. Well, it was one of them. I'll have it here anyway, the Tanya Maya, and with Fox 4. And you said in that tape, and I have it, it says that you did everything you did for self-preservation.
And it was right here, it wasn't outside.
Okay, well, Was it well, you said that it was self-preservation, and then you turned around, or you said it was restructuring, and then you said self-preservation, so which was it?
The police department and in the police field, you have to have self-preservation or you won't survive. So, I mean, I said it, and I mean, I had to deal with it now. I said it, and it's the deal to survive. I mean, you know, I work around a bunch of people every day.
What are you talking about, survive? I mean, what's self-preservation?
That's
staying alive, or what?
Well, no, sir. I mean, that's it. That's it in a nutshell.
Are you saying your department is out to get you?
I don't know.
I want to ask Mr. Frame something. Mr. Frame, do you know if you or anybody else in your department that went over in the office over there and telling people that God told you to give them money and threw money in the floor?
Say it again.
Did you or anybody you know of ever go to someone that got demoted and say that God told you to give them money and you ended up throwing money in the floor to their feet?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions?
I've got a couple, Madam Mayor. Roddy, on patrol units, cost of patrol units and stuff, are we utilizing all the patrol units that are available to you at this time?
We're utilizing the only one that I think, and we use it sometime, is Unit 19. It's one of the older model units.
One of the older models?
Yes, sir.
There's not a couple sitting back there in the parking lot not getting used?
No, the two older models is one of the supervisors, and the other is our crime scene. And then we have like the early 90s Crown Victoria back there, and it's used as a spare because it doesn't have a camera.
Okay. And one other question is, the recording equipment and stuff that's in these patrol units,
Yes, sir.
they are there for what purpose?
To record any contacts with the public.
That's true. It's my understanding that a lot of the microphones and recording equipment doesn't work.
That is correct.
Has there been any steps taken to get this stuff repaired? Because you know and I know, being in the police business, that recording equipment takes all the guesswork out of an accusation that's made against one of your officers.
That is correct. The current video system that we use now in those cars is made by ICOP. ICOP has since went bankrupt, and a company called Safety Vision out of Houston has purchased the ICOPs. We've sent the microphones off several times to have them repaired. We've even looked into getting a new camera system because the price to get those things repaired are so expensive.
I realize the expense on it, but now that new equipment's going to be bought, and I think that it's crucial that we have recording equipment in those vehicles. That if they're in as bad a shape as I've been told they are, somebody needs to approach council about money, if your budget will stand it. If not, the budget, it can be spent somehow to protect these officers while they're out here in the street.
I turned the deal in the other day to the city manager, and he and I talked about this, and he passed it on to our finance manager, and I was under the impression that it was something that we would bring up in the budget hearing next month, or the budget workshop.
When is that going to be?
Next month, I think.
How long have these, it's my understanding that let me, for those that don't know, there was some things that happened here in the city years ago, and Mayor David Barber, I was here in the city council at that time, unanimously passed a motion that all contacts between police and people be videotaped and audio taped. I mean, in other words, sound and video. and that there was to be no exception about this, because the city wanted to be able to know what their police were doing when they stopped somebody out beside the road. Now, that's some of my understanding that this stuff has been out for some time.
No, it hasn't been out. It's just one of the microphones will quit working and they'll go to another car and get it put. It's kind of like we've been piecing it together from, I guess, the lack of a better term. And a lot of those things that sometimes you hear, I don't get to hear, so.
What are you saying you don't get to hear?
Because the people don't come to me with it. I don't work in those cars every day.
So you don't.
When I go by, is everything okay? Yes, sir.
So your men in your department don't communicate with you?
No, I didn't say that. I said if I asked them if everything's running okay, you need anything, no sir, everything's okay. And then I'll get a deal that somebody took the microphone home with them. That's been the going thing around for the last few days, is these officers wear these microphones on their belts. And when they get out of the car at 6 o'clock, they'll leave and take them home. And then they'll have to go and get another one out of another car to make it work.
Well, I'm just wondering how we go to deal where, like when Chief Hunter was there, if those tapes and those recordings were checked in at the end of every shift, and if somebody didn't have a recording of a stop, they were in big trouble over there. And that doesn't seem to be the case now. Any other questions, any council members?
Mr. Peterson, I was wondering, when did the rank of senior sergeant, when was that invented or part of the company like this?
It was established. Yeah, it was established whenever we went to 2 sergeants, as opposed to 4 sergeants. Had a little bit of a more chiefs than Indians type situation. Whenever 2 sergeants positions came available or opened up, we decided not to fill those and just make 2 sergeants. One for 5 days, the other for 5 days, 90 days.
Sounds like, to me, Mr. Frame, you had too many chiefs and not enough Indians.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, it was a little top heavy, yes, ma'am.
Well, I see too, and I'm not going to mention any names in here because I don't want to do that without these officers being here or whatever, but I see where you got a guy he goes from patrol officer to sergeant. He's making $17.06 an hour. Then he goes to sergeant. He's $22 an hour. Then he's demoted from sergeant to sergeant patrol. He's from $22 to $17 an hour. All right. Then I see on another deal here where another guy is a lieutenant. He's promoted from sergeant to lieutenant, so he goes from $23.75 to, $22 from got this wrong here. Wait. He goes from $23.75 or $22.74 to $25.25. Okay. Then he's demoted from lieutenant to detective sergeant. He comes back down. He's making back down to $24.25. So before it was $22.75, now it's $24.25. And then also, I find out that you're doing deals here, or is what I've been told, that you tell certain people that they can't take a car home, and then you got other people that you let them drive them all the way to Pinewood. Why is that?
Well, back to answer your first part of the question, those 2 changes from sergeant back to patrolman and from lieutenant back to sergeant, those were requested by the people. And I have documentation, and I know that you want to talk about that. I would rather show you tonight. The deal with the sergeant, he actually takes it to Brooklyn, not Pineland. And when he's on call, when they're on there 5 on or 2 off, because there's not 2 of them, they're on call 24 hours. So, per the city policy, if they're on call, they can take a vehicle. But other than that, they don't just get out and drive them to Vineland or Hemphill because they want to.
So is every policeman in the city on call, 24 hours?
Yes, sir.
So then every policeman ought to be able to take their car home. Is that what you're telling me?
Except for patrol, yes, sir.
Anything else from any council member?
When y'all check out during the day, like when you leave or you're gone for a day, is there a procedure that you check out or notify someone that you're gone?
I tell my secretary, yes, sir.
Okay, there used to be a calendar or a board that y'all used to sign out on. Y'all still use that?
There is a board, the detectives, they use the board back there in the back. But during the day, on my daily deal, I'll just tell Miss Diane, go into the sheriff's office or wherever, and she knows.
Okay. How many days do you think you take off in a month? You take off a lot of days in a month?
No, sir.
I've got one other thing. On continuing education for your officers, schools they go to, schools you've been to, everything. And I'll ask the mayor because I'm not real sure on this, but when it comes to spending money for continuing education, or do we have to, or do they have to obtain permission from the council to go to school? Do they have to get clearance to take vehicles, go to and from? Or how does that work?
I've never had to do that, I'm sorry.
Well, you asked me, and no, I've never known the police department having to do that, but they have the money in their budget, and they cannot go over that budget. And the police department is over budget in that area, as well as some other city departments. Thank you.
Mr. Pearson, do we have, or we do have now, a sexual harassment suit that's been filed against the city department? Do we have in our policy and procedure manual policies addressing sexual misconduct while at work?
Yes, sir. But as far as I know, it's after talking, and Mike, can you come up here and address that? He's been actually working on that investigation that you're talking about. I'm gonna let him explain it to you, so I don't tell you something.
Yes, sir. What was the question again?
Well, within the policy and procedures handbook or manual of the police department, do you have explicit policies regarding sexual misconduct of officers while on duty? And is it being followed?
There is some stuff in our code of conduct, but I'm not aware of a sexual harassment suit that we're investigating right now. And I know what you're talking about.
Maybe it's not a suit yet, but a claim?
I don't know anything about the suit. I talked with Mr. Whitener about a deal that I was investigating within our department. And after I've looked into it and done my follow-up, I don't believe it's a sexual harassment. And my report so reflects, which has been turned into the captain and the chief.
Okay, have there been any instances of that sort of behavior at the police department that you're aware of?
Not that I'm aware
Any
of.
three of you?
Not that I'm aware of. And if you're referencing the complaint that I think you're talking about, it wasn't brought to me in that respect. I wanted to talk to Mr. Whitener about it to get some clarification on some stuff. And he told me that there's a possibility that based on what I was telling him for pre-investigation, that could possibly be something of that. After I've done my investigation, I don't believe so. But then again, that's my opinion.
Another question I'd like to ask Chief Pearson, Mr. Frame, is over the years at this city, they have had a firm racial profiling policy in place to ensure that racial profiling is not going on within the city of Jasper. And the city has always went out and hired an independent firm to come in and to review the city's reports and their reports and their stops, and to then advise this council in a report of whether racial profiling is going on within the city or not. And that didn't happen this year. the police department, for the first time that I've ever known, instead decided to do their own racial profile study and investigation. Which to me is kind of like having the fox guard the hen house. I mean, I think that the whole purpose that the city always, and the previous departments had it done by an independent firm, so that that person has that's not on the payroll of the city. I mean, they come in basically and they give an unbiased report to this council. Why did that not happen this year? I was going to ask the chief.
I'm sorry. Okay. What happened is with our computer system over at the office, we have a tier 2 report that's printed off by that, and that's what we went off of. The company that you're talking about, Del Carmen Associates, it's very expensive to use him, and it's something that the council wishes, and we'll get him back and get him to use to continue doing that, but it's very expensive.
Or do you understand that the importance of it was that it was independent?
I do understand. Yes, sir.
It was somebody completely outside of Jasper looking at our racial profiling policies and then advising this council.
Yes, sir.
So whose decision was that?
That was my decision.
Okay. Any other questions, council?
One other question. Back to the budget, where are we on the budget? Where do we stand percentage-wise for what we have left in the budget?
I looked
today. This year.
I looked today, and we're at 67.9%.
We have 33% left, or 32.1. And this is May, and our June, and we end in September 31st.
What about the travel part of that budget?
The travel is up. We have a deal with DECCOG where they'll pay for our meeting, schools, and convention. That's $1,250 that we'll get reimbursed. We need to file it between now and the time that.
But where are we at budget-wise?
We're over. Says we're $3,400 over.
Okay.
I got a question, Mike. On the subject of racial profiling, has there been any complaints of racial profiling?
No, sir.
Any other questions of this council? Okay.
I think this question was asked earlier. How much time do you spend at the police department? How much do you spend per day?
I'm there from about 8:30 in the morning, 8:15 to 8:30 in the morning, till about 4:30 or 4 till 5 in the afternoon, unless I have to go someplace and meet something. But I'm usually always there.
Well, my records show March through May, you were out about every other day. And Mr. Frame, you were gone part also.
I just.
Say in the microphone, please. Did you all hear?
No, you didn't hear her.
But they
didn't hear me, I'm sorry.
Talk to the microphone.
I'm sorry. Okay, my question was how much time Mr. Pearson and Mr. Frame spent at the police department daily. Because my reports show that from February the 29th to May 12th, that there were several days missed by Mr. Frame and Mr. Pearson at work. I also have reports of 2 officers involved in shooting, deadly force. Neither Mr. Frame nor Mr. Pearson came to the scene. Do you have an answer for me in that one?
Not sure what scene you're talking about. May or not have got a call from our dispatcher.
So kind of been communication broke down again over at the police department.
We're addressing some issues here recently about dispatch not calling. We've had several new dispatchers. That could be a count.
So you're saying that if y'all weren't there, it was once again probably miscommunication, y'all weren't called?
Scenes.
Yeah.
Sometimes we do get called, but they can be handled by the lieutenant or the sergeant. They just let us know what's taking place.
Well, since we're talking about time on the job, Mr. Pierce, what's the city's policy about vacation? When do you get vacation in the city?
Without looking at the policy, I didn't take.
After you've been here a year, is what the rule says. You're here up for your yearly review tonight. How much vacation have you taken less than this year?
I took a week on my own time right after I hired him. When the night that I was sworn in, I explained to the folks here at the council that I had a trip planned with my children.
You explained to this council that night?
Not this council.
I mean, I was here then.
Yes.
And you told this council about it?
And like July, I took 4 days in July.
Okay, so you've already taken vacation before you're eligible to take it?
And without looking at the policy, I'll have to prove it.
Okay. In fact, you were hired as an interim chief, and then like a week later you went on vacation. Okay? And took about a week off. Okay?
I took 4 days.
And you say that you told this council, well, I was here that night, so I don't remember you telling this council to check the minutes and see if it's in the council minutes. Maybe did you tell a particular council member of that?
Well, it was when the meeting was over.
Okay, so you didn't tell the council in the meeting?
No.
Okay, well, talking to the council in here in the meeting and talking to the council outside is two different things.
Okay.
And we'll address all that issues later. For those of you that may wonder why we do this, the city council is the only person or the only entity that controls the police department. The city council, the police department works for the city council, and we cannot meet. We cannot meet here. In other words, what we do, we have to do here and vote on it, and it has to be on record or it doesn't happen. Any other questions? No other questions? We move to the next item on the agenda is to consider the enforcement of illegal dumping in solid waste dumpsters. This is item number 9, and I've asked this to be on here, and I will explain the reason why. Bottom line is we have a situation where, let's say that Tommy Boykin, or let's say whoever is paying to have their garbage picked up, and then we've got other people that come and fill their garbage can up with garbage, and then they can't put garbage in their can. And bottom line, that has been going on for some time, and it causes a big problem for people. And it's been happening to some churches here in town where they go out there, they only come to church once a week, and then they go out there and their dumpster's full, and other people filled it up, and they can't put any garbage in it. And then we've had businesses here do the same. And bottom line is that it is a crime to put the garbage in those dumpsters, cans. Am I right, Mr. City Manager? And the city government has, sanitation department has really recently put signs on all of those cans to tell people not to put things in those dumpsters. Because what happens is the city of Jasper ends up, we don't have any place to put garbage, so we have to pay somebody to take garbage. So we've got people basically driving in here from communities outside of town and putting garbage in our garbage cans, and then the city's having to tote it off or pay to have it carried away. And then on top of that, then the people that have the cans are not able to use them because they're full. So what I'd like, all we're asking, I think, tonight is the city's council to instruct the police department that this rule should be enforced. We have a motion by Hazel. We have a second.
Second.
Second by Raymond Hobson. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Let the record show that the measure passed unanimously. Okay, we're now down to the executive session pursuant to Government Code Section 551.074. The City Council will convene in closed executive session, discuss and deem appropriate to take action on personnel matters regarding City Manager Tommy Boykin and the Rodney Pearson Police Chief. Let the record show that our time is 7:18 Central Daylight Time. No, that's not right. Let the record show that's 7:23 Central Daylight Time. Okay, for the record, we'll show this, one of these days, we're gonna get all these clocks synchronized. We don't have to do. We need to have another. Anyway, we'll now show this executive session is concluded. We're back in open session for this regular city council meeting, Monday, June 11th, 2012, Jasper City Hall, 465 South Main Street. And let the time show that it is 11 minutes, it's 9:11 Central Daylight Time. We first will tell you that we have been in executive session discussing the evaluations for the city manager and for the police chief. First, we have any action to be taken on the performance of Tommy Boykin, who is city manager.
I move that that evaluation be finished next month, the next scheduled meeting.
And I second that one.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, let the record show all city council members voted for. The city council member, Alton Scott, voted against. In the performance evaluation for Rodney Pearson, police chief, do we have a motion?
I make a motion that Mr. Pearson be terminated as our city police chief.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Who seconded? Mitch McMillan, second. All those in favor say aye.
Discussion.
Real quick, question and discussion.
I just want to say that this is racism at its finest. It's racism at its finest.
That's pitiful. That's pitiful. Okay, we're not going to have any more outbursts, okay? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. Now let the record show all city council members voted for the termination, except for Alton Scott, who voted against it.
Yes, ma'am, I said aye.
Okay, you finally see it. When you didn't see that at first, I was looking at you. That's why they all vote. You didn't do that. Now that's back.
Being no other items on the agenda to be discussed or voted on, we stand here.